Fiona, can you hear me? Oh, I'm unmuting you, Fiona.
Yes.
Hello, Fiona, how are you?
Hi. Good. How are you doing?
I'm very, very good. Thank you very much. And so we've got lots of doctors and nurses, over 55 doctors and nurses. And we've got very eager doctors saying, Nagas, and please start the class. Okay. Yes, we will, Nagas. However, this is the beautiful thing with this class is I can speak as long as I want to because it's totally free. But anyway, I'm only joking. I'm going to pass you over to Fiona. And Fiona, if you want to go ahead and teach today's masterclass to our doctors and nurses.
Yes, sure. No
and
problem.
also, actually, sorry, Fiona, I should say, some people in here have not been to the one of your classes before, so if you can just quickly introduce yourself and your experience with teaching overall.
Yes, okay, sure. Yes, I have many years experience of teaching, and most recently I have done a lot of OET teaching, specifically with Swoosh, and I've been doing the speaking and writing classes with Swoosh and also the reading and listening. So yeah, it's great to have everybody here. I'm also an ex-IELTS examiner, so yeah, and I have lots of experience of teaching all kinds of English. So hopefully I can give you some idea of the listening part A section today, which I believe Alex has introduced. So I'm going to share my screen with you. There we go.
Let me know if you need my help as well, Fiona.
I will. You'll stay there, will you, for the moment? Yes.
Absolutely. I'm listening. I'm listening to all of your fantastic advice. So yes.
Okay, good. No, it's just that yes, hopefully everyone can see my screen now, which says listening subtitles.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm also going to share the audio. Just one second. I think I'll be able to manage that. Yes. Okay. So I want to see both at the same time. Now, can everyone see that in large view or not?
Perfect, Fiona.
You can. It's fine, is it? Okay. Because I just want to have the audio as well.
And I should say, Fiona, if there's anybody watching on their phone and they can't see, we always advise people to watch on their laptop if they can, or a PC. I mean, I can see it on my mobile phone, so it should be fine for most people. Let us know anyway, and we'll try and accommodate you as best we can.
Yeah, great. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so here, hopefully everyone can see this, that we have the listening subtest here. So this is the paper that you get when you're in your listening test. This is all fairly self-explanatory. We're going to look today at part A. I'm not sure how much Alex has explained to you, but part A is about 20 to 25 minutes. The whole listening test is 50 minutes. And in part A, you are asked to, you listen to a consultation between a patient and a medical professional, and you are tested on your ability to follow the facts in a conversation, and to write notes, basically to take notes on the on what you hear. Okay, so you don't need to write full sentences, you just write notes. So note-taking practice is essential. As you can imagine, I'm sure a lot of you doctors and nurses do the same things when you're listening to patients. So it's very much a real life skill that they're testing, and one that will be applicable in workplace situations later on. Okay, so this is the booklet. Okay. And you are told in the instructions, it says you have 20 minutes. In this part of the test, you will hear a general practitioner talking to Lewis, a man with a sore back. You'll hear the consultation once only. So if any of you have done IELTS, it's exactly the same format as that, in that you only hear it once. Okay, so you have to be really prepared to write as much as you can in that time. Luckily, they do give you lots of time to look ahead to the next question. You'll see that as we're doing the practice. Okay. So it says, as you listen, make notes under the headings given on the answer paper. Okay, so I'm going to actually just start playing the recording.
Occupational English test. Listening test. This test has two parts. Part A. In this part of the test, you will hear a general practitioner talking to Lewis, a man with a sore back. You will hear the consultation once only in sections. As you listen, you must make notes about the consultation under the headings given on the answer paper. Turn over now and look quickly through Part A. You have 1 minute to do this.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop the recording for a second. So they said you have 1 minute, so they do give you time. Actually, I'll keep playing recording because we do have a minute. They do give you time to read through the questions, okay? And as you can see, that one of them has been done here for you. And you have different sections, and you have to make notes under each of these different sections. So we will hear, just 1 second. Okay, sorry, just 1 second. Closing my window. Okay. Okay. So hopefully everyone can hear a little bit better. There was traffic noise outside. We don't need that while we're listening. Okay. So in the 1 minute preparation time, you obviously read ahead. You predict the kind of information that is going to come. We know, for example, that it's Lewis, a man with a sore back. So already we're thinking, you know, this is of what kind of information we can include. So here, reason for visit, all filled in for you. Hurt back recently, hurt it before as well. So you are writing notes, you're not writing sentences. You write a few words that can be understood easily by the person who is reading it. So they do not have to be grammatically correct. Spelling has to be as near as possible, but you don't have to spell the words perfectly as long as the person reading it can understand what you're saying. Also, if you say hurt back recently, and then here you said hurt it before also, or something like that in the same line, you would still get the 2 points. Okay, so you don't have to sit there trying to work out, oh, what's the first point, what's the second point. So just write as much as you can and make it clear. You know, you might put a dash here or something to make it clear that this is another piece of information. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the recording, and I want you to take a pen and paper, the old-fashioned way, and make some notes as you're listening to the recording under these headings. So don't forget what I said. We need to predict what kind of information will come up. So, for example, previous back injury. So this is probably going to be information about an injury that he had prior to this injury. So you know, it will probably be telling you the circumstances in which that happened. So you can already predict the kind of information that you're going to be listening for. Very important to predict before you listen in any listening test. So number 3 says sporting activities and nature of work. So you know here that you're going to listen for that there's going to be some kind of sports and the work that he does, so some kind of reference to workplaces or his job, etc. And also, please note, you will see this or you'll hear this on the recording. You do have time in between each number to look ahead and to predict. So there are gaps, there are pauses between the conversations during the consultation. So they'll tell you, now you can look at question 3, for example, and then you predict the information, then you listen. Okay, it will all become clear. I'll stop talking now and I'll get you to listen to a couple of sections. Okay, so don't forget, while you're listening, write down some notes. We'll look at the answers afterwards and see how well you did. Okay, we're just going through the end of the 1 minute, I guess. So just look ahead at the questions.
You must give as much relevant information as you can under each of the headings provided. You may write as you listen, and there will be pauses during the consultation for you to complete your notes under the relevant heading and to read the following heading. There will also be 2 minutes at the end of the test for you to check your answers. Give your answers in note form. Don't waste time writing full sentences. Remember, you will hear the consultation once only, and you should write as you listen. Now look at question 1. Question 1 has been done for you.
Hi, hello, I'm Dr. Mary Flynn, and can you give me your name, please?
Hi, I'm Lewis.
Hi, welcome. Can you tell me why you've come to see me today, Lewis?
Yep, I hurt my back recently. It's a bit sore. I heard it last week as well, and I heard it again.
So that was just an example, and you'll see he said his actual words were hurt it last week as well. So you could say hurt it before, hurt it previously. You get the picture. You can write synonyms. You don't have to write the exact words. Okay, so that was just an example. We'll continue, and you're going to see if you can answer the questions here.
Now look at question 2. Take notes on Lewis's previous back injury.
Right, so this is something that's happened before as well?
Yeah, I've hurt my back before. When I was 16, I hurt it playing cricket. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't play cricket anymore. I find it too painful.
Right, so how long is that now that you haven't been playing cricket?
I heard it when I was 16 and I'm 21 now, so I've been in about 5 years.
Right, okay.
Okay, so I'm actually going to move ahead to the answers. Hopefully you managed to get the answers. I'm sure you did. The first point was that he hurt it when he was 16. And hopefully you also got that he was playing cricket. Okay, and the next one was he doesn't play anymore because it's too painful. Or you could say he stopped playing cricket. And the next point was he hasn't played for 5 years. Okay, I'm just going to scroll ahead to the answers that are accepted, and you'll see that there are various different combinations of answers. I just want to show you that. 1 second. Try not to show you all the answers ahead of time, so you have to work to get them. That's part B, and this is part A. Okay, so here we are. So hurt when 16, or you could just say 16, playing cricket, doesn't play anymore, too painful, or you could say stopped playing cricket, but something along those lines of not playing anymore. And then 5 years not playing cricket. So you can see that they're not full sentences, they're in note forms. And there would be other combinations available that you could write. You don't have to write those exact words, okay, as long as you get something similar across. Okay, so let's go back to the questions. Okay, so hopefully you all did a great job with that as well. Okay, I'm going to play the recording again now.
Now look at question 3. Take notes on Lewis's sporting activities and the nature of his work.
And do you play any other sports?
I play football during the winter, and I've just recently taken up surfing. So
Right. And you like sports? You're pretty keen on sport?
yeah, I play a lot of sport. It's really good.
So having a bad back's not too good for that?
No, and I work at a liquor store, so I carry a lot of boxes and stuff.
Right, so you're always lifting and bending and carrying stuff, right?
Okay, so did you get those answers? Hopefully you did. The first one was about football. That's the sporting activity that he does. Also, he said that he recently started surfing, so that would be the next point. He plays a lot of sports. He works in a liquor store. I don't know if you know what a liquor store is, but it's a shop that sells alcohol. Okay. And he often carries boxes, and he lifts a lot of things as well. And he's often bending over as well. So that affects his back, obviously. So hopefully you got most of those points. Please notice here as well that it says 6, and you can count the numbers of bullet points that you have to get. So you can see how many points you need to get. But what I recommend is you just write as much as you can. Okay.
Hi, Fiona. So we've got a few. We haven't got many people who are actually attempting this exercise. So if we want you to practice as much as possible, there's only Narges who's given some good answers so far. But if the rest of you, I would love to see more participation. We've got over 85 people watching right now, which is fantastic. But the more you take part and the more you take part in this practice, then the more you'll get out of it. Bahir says, I didn't hear the recording. I mean, sorry to hear that, Bahir. I'm not sure what's the problem with your device. I can hear it quite well. Let me know, everyone else, if you can hear okay. And Silkstone had a question, Fiona. She said, do we have to write the answers in sequence of when she listens to it?
I don't think you do, but it would be difficult not to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I don't know how you would do that. Yes. You just write them in the order that you hear them. I mean, I guess maybe she's thinking that, if she suddenly remembers something later, that she puts it at the end. I'm sure that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Okay, but aside from that, okay. So everyone else is hearing it clearly. Good. Will Marie, Krishna, Ivy. Okay, good. So hopefully you can get that resolved here. Okay, fantastic. And Samita's been giving some good answers as well. But yeah, I think we could move on, Fiona.
Great. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so great that some of you are joining in. And as Alex said, please listen along, try to answer the questions and ask your questions as well. This is a great opportunity for you to be able to do that. So we're going to continue as we have been before, but I want everybody to try and do this next question, okay? Okay. it's coming. They're giving you time to think about what you will write.
Now look at question 4. Take notes on the history of the recent incident.
So tell me exactly what's happened to your back in this last incident.
Well, I was jumping backwards and forwards over a football at training when we were warming up, and I just felt a twinge in my back, and it was quite sore. It was just on mainly the lower right-hand side of my back, and very sore, and couldn't keep training with it. And then I went to the physio and got some massage and stuff, and she said to take a week off and hopefully it'll get better. And it got better and it was fine for a while, for a week or so. And then I was in bed and I moved around in an odd position and my back twinged again. And then, I went to football training on Monday night and it was a bit sore, and I was kicking with my right foot and my back started twinging a bit more and it's tightened up. And now when I lift my right leg, it's quite like I can feel the pain radiating up.
Okay. So hopefully you got the 9 points that were mentioned here. I know that when I was doing this one, some of the points I was getting on just on one line, but I still managed to get all the 9 points. So I'll show you what those points are. Okay, let's go ahead to the answers. And again, I don't want to show you all of them. Okay, so history of recent incident, 1 mark for each of these. Jumping back and forth over football at the training session. He felt a twinge or a pain in his lower right-hand side. Twinge is a word that occurs often in this part of the recording. You probably know this as medical professionals, but a twinge is like just a sudden, if you move in the wrong way, you get reminded that you've got back pain or something. So it's a sudden, quite sharp pain that is affected by your movement. Okay. So you can see here, he went to the physio and he had a massage. So these two, for example, I put on the same line, but that really wouldn't matter. I would still get the 2 points, and obviously you would too. Okay, he took a week off, he got better, but in bed there was another twinge. And when he kicks with his right foot, it hurts when he's football training. And when he lifts his right leg, the pain radiates up, or he can feel pain. So lots of different combinations possible. Okay, let's go back. Okay. So all the time when you're doing this, the strategy is to use the time as carefully as possible. When a section has finished, you should pretty much finish your writing quite quickly, as quickly as you can, and move to the next question when there is silence and think about what's coming up in the next question. If you're thinking, oh no, what have I missed in the last section? I didn't have 9 points, I only had 8. What am I going to do? And then you're counting back and panicking, and that's not a good use of your time. You need to move ahead, forget about it, move ahead, relax, think about the next question. So think about, for example, details of pain. So pain from his current injury. What kind of pain is it, for example? So is it sharp? Is it intermittent? So you can already start predicting some of the information. Yeah, but look ahead, don't look back. I would say that's probably the best advice for this section. Okay, here we go.
Now look at question 5. You will hear a discussion about the details of Lewis's pain. First, take notes on Lewis's pain from the current injury.
Right, so when you say you're lifting your right leg, is the pain in that same part of the back it was before?
Yeah, it's in the right hand lower back.
Right, and is it moving down into your buttock?
Not really. It's staying mainly in the back.
Right, but it's more obvious when you move your leg.
Yeah, when it's fully extended, I lift my leg up and
it's really painful. Yeah. What about when you're sitting like you are now with your knee bent?
No, it's fine now.
Mm-hmm. And have you been at work?
Yeah, I've been at work and it's fine as long as I lift properly.
Right.
There's no pain.
Right, so as long as you're very careful when you're lifting. And the time when you're twisted around in bed, have you done any of that sort of twisting at work, or you've been very careful?
I've been very careful not to.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so hopefully you managed to get the 6 points. I'm just going to move forward so we can check the answers for that section.
Hi, Fiona. Before you reveal those answers, let's see if anyone has actually attempted that one. Okay, if you can put them in here. So Will Marie's been putting her answers in. Najla, Arlene as well. Okay, so Will Marie lifting the right leg. There is pain. Not moving in the buttocks, staying in the left, sitting not fine. Carefully lift, no pain. Twisting very carefully. Okay, so we've had one student. If anyone else wants to attempt this one, please put your answers in the message box, in the chat box. But yeah, Fiona, feel free to to state the answers.
Yep. Okay. So good. So whoever that was, it seemed like you got quite a lot of information there. I didn't see the answers that you gave, but sounded pretty good. So we've got here right lower back or lower R back would be acceptable. So you can use abbreviations as long as they can be understood. Not in the buttock. It's painful when the leg is extended or fully extended, or when he lifts his leg up. And notice it's all in note form. You don't need to have articles like a and the. You don't need to have his leg. You just have to have the main content words of what is said. You won't have time to write full sentences. The next one, it's fine when he's sitting or when his knee is bent. It's fine at work or if he's lifting properly. And he has been careful not to twist. Okay, so you can see here that there are two possibilities. So there's sometimes there are two possibilities. So if you think, oh, maybe I've got, 7 points, don't worry about it. Yeah, just get as many. You won't be penalized for having too many points. Okay, so just write as much information as you can. Okay, right. I'm just scrolling through.
Fiona, I just wanted to point out that in some of the answers that I'm seeing on Facebook Live here, there are some spelling and grammatical mistakes, but don't worry too much about that, because in this part of the examination, it's not as important to have the correct grammar and the spelling. As long as the meaning is understood by the examiner, then you get your marks. For example, Narges said movement, spelled movement incorrectly, M-O-V-M-E-N-T. Okay, so don't worry too much as long as they understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's so often, in so many other sections of the exam or of any exam, you're having to write, grammatically perfect sentences and really good spelling. But the key here is obviously that you can understand spoken text. So that's the main point. Right, so you'll notice here that this is number 5 and we have details of pain. And we have 2 sections in number 5, so that can happen as well. We have pain from his current injury, and we also have pain from his previous injury. So we're just going to listen to the next section, which will be this one.
Now, take notes on Lewis's pain from the previous injury.
So, and is this the same sort of pain that you were having when you were, 5-6 years ago when you were playing cricket?
Yeah, it was very similar sort of pain to this.
Right. And did it ever get into you? Did it sort of ever go down your leg at all?
Not really. It mainly stayed in the back.
Right. And if you rested, did it settle down then?
Yeah, it settled down, but it was never good if I tried to play cricket because I was a fast bowler. I was twisting a lot.
So you were always twisting when you were bowling and therefore making it happen again?
Yeah.
And they didn't need you just being a fielder?
No, it wasn't much good.
Okay. So I don't know if we've got any cricket players here. Let's have a look. Sorry about all the scrolling. Here we are. Okay, so to avoid all this scrolling in a minute, I'm just going to do a couple of sections at a time, I think. So, pain from previous injury. Similar pain to now. It's mainly stayed in his back. It never went down his leg. It settled down when he was resting, and twisting or playing cricket would make it happen, or would aggravate it, would make it worse. You could also say would make it worse, or, there's a huge variety of things you could actually say. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to do a couple of sections now. Please, please, please do this. Write notes as you're listening. It will give you really good practice. Okay, so
Fiona just wanted to point out, Will Marie got all her answers correct. Well done,
Ooh,
Will Marie.
Well done.
Yeah. And Fiona, before you go on to the next section, I just wanted to mention that I've actually posted because I know most of you, probably 90% from what I've seen, are doing your examinations in July and August. We are going to be announcing tomorrow, only for those people who complete this 30-second survey, that we've got a program for you to help you with either July or August examination. So I have posted that link inside the group. Let me know if you have completed that survey. This survey will help us to understand how we can help you to pass the examination. First time, just like I mentioned, all those people at the beginning, some of our current students, and Fiona's actually taught some of those, Junu, Ahmed, Omar, Irish, Patricia, just in the last few days, and we had some others last week that passed as well. So I want you to be our next passer. If you complete that 30-second survey, you'll be the first to hear about a new program that we've got for you for July and August. So I really look forward to helping you in doing it. And Samita said, I've completed the survey. Fantastic. So if you can complete that survey and then say, I've completed the survey below, so I know who the serious and committed students are who are looking to pass as soon as possible. You've got 2 weeks remaining if you are exactly 2 weeks and a couple of days if you've got your examination in July. So to have the best preparation possible is really, really key. Okay. And the other thing is, if you want to get our OET writing model answer, and we've got a letter for you where you can really see how a good letter should look like. Of course, we don't want you to memorize these things, but just to have a good understanding of the structure, how they selected case notes and transformed them, etc. Then make sure you share today's video. Step 1, share this Facebook Live video to your Facebook page. Step 2, right below, I have shared the OET live class video. So right in the chat box, I have shared the OET live class video, and our system will automatically send you that model answer. So good luck. And we've had Ugasu and Aisha. He said, where is the link? I'll post it for you again. Okay, so I've posted that for you. It's a Google form. Sagar and Aisha, which you can see, Ugaso as well. Sarah said, I've completed the survey, said Hasarika. Very good, okay. And keep your questions coming about listening part A as well. We will be answering as many of your questions as possible. Linda's shared it, fantastic. Okay, Fiona.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to look at 2 different sections now. So, and then we'll look at the answers later. So we'll be doing 6 and 7.
Now look at question 6. Take notes on Lewis's treatment.
And have you taken any medicines or tablets for this?
I took some Nurofen when I first had it, and so if there was any swelling, it might go down a bit. But no medicines apart from that. I went to the physio and they put a bit of heat into it and some ultrasound, and that was all.
Right. So you haven't been taking Panadol regularly or Nurofen regularly?
No,
or
nothing like that.
Okay.
Now look at question 7. Take notes on further details of the problem.
And if you're just sitting quietly as you are now, is it painful at all?
No, but I'm sort of aware that it's not quite right. When I was sitting on the couch at home that doesn't have as good a support for the back as this, I could feel it.
Right. So, and what about lying in bed flat?
Lying in bed flat is fine.
Okay. And standing up straight?
Standing up straight, I'm aware of it. Like if I try and stand up really straight, but not normally, no.
Right. So, and walking?
Walking's fine. I feel like I'm walking with a slightly different gait to normal.
Right, so that you're actually aware of it most of the time now.
Yeah.
Do you ride a bike at all?
No.
So you haven't. And driving a car?
It was an issue when I first heard it. Driving a car, extending my leg and bending it and stuff. Yeah. And even just getting into the car, lifting the leg up.
Yeah. And now, right at the moment?
It's still uncomfortable getting into a car.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so we will scroll ahead and have a look at the answers. Hopefully some of you actually did that exercise. Okay, so you can check your answers. Question 6. We have treatment, so Nurofen at first, or you could write ibuprofen to reduce the swelling. No other medicine, or you could say nothing regular. He had heat applied at the physio and also ultrasound. Okay, so once again, if you put those on the same line, that's not a problem. Question 7. So 7A says it's not painful when he's sitting. He also mentioned the couch, which is the sofa. You could say when sitting on couch, doesn't matter. He's aware it's not right when sitting, or you could just say not right when sitting or something like that. Lying in bed or lying flat is fine. Standing straight is fine, because he does actually say, yeah, I'm aware of it when I'm standing up, but generally when I'm standing up straight, it's fine. So you could have said either of those things. Walking is fine, but sometimes he's aware of having a different gait. That means a different way of walking. And the doctor asks him if there was if he rode a bicycle, I believe, and he said no. So that point about the bicycle would not be relevant. But he does ask about cars. And he said at first driving was an issue. And it's still uncomfortable when he gets into the car. Okay. So I'm sure lots of you got similar information. Hopefully you did. Okay, so we're going to go and have a look at some of the next questions. So we'll do 8 and 9. And I'm sure you've noticed that there is always a pause. 10 seconds before the question for you to look at it, 10 seconds afterwards, and then the same thing is repeated. So lots of time.
Now look at question 8. Take notes on the doctor's initial comments.
So it's really it's actually changing the way you live at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're really going to have your back in good order to be able to move around and do all the things you need to do. And it's also important to get it better so that you can play sport properly and keep yourself fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think you probably, obviously I need to examine you and see exactly where this problem is and see what we can do about it. I think you probably need some physiotherapy, some exercises and some analgesics to be going on with.
Actually, I'm just going to pause it there. So there were 5 points, and the last 3 points were needs physio, needs exercise, and needs analgesics. So you can see that it's, very small amounts of information, but important information about what the doctor is saying to him. So the first one was it's important to fix or to get better. And the second one was needs to examine. And the others were physio, exercise, and analgesics. Okay. So let's move on to number 9.
Now look at question 9. You will hear a discussion about the results of the examination. First, take notes on the doctor's explanation of the problem.
Okay, so now I've just finished examining you, and your back can get into your spinal cord, but there's no evidence from your reflexes, I don't think, or from your sensation. All of that's normal. So I think what you've got is a nasty muscle sprain. It's obviously tender when I push there.
Okay, let's scroll ahead and see how well you did. Okay, so we have here muscular, or it's a muscular problem, something along those lines. His reflexes are normal, no nerve damage or no evidence of nerve damage, no problem passing urine or with bowels, and muscle sprain, and it's tender when it's pressed. Okay, so you needed to get all of those points to get the full 6 marks, and notice that it's 1 mark for each of the following, or for each point. Okay.
Hello, Fiona. So I'm thinking if we do the last question now, and then we can start answering some questions that the doctors and nurses and other medical professionals have got.
There's quite a lot of questions to go, so should we just do one more?
Yeah, exactly. I just do one more. We won't have enough time, unfortunately, but we've had lots of students taking part, which is fantastic. And so start to prepare your questions. We'll start to answer as many as possible. But yes, Fiona will do the last question.
Okay, so great. We'll just do analgesics here, this one. So yes, get ready to answer them.
Now, take notes on the suggested course of action.
Oops. Sorry, suggested course of action is what we're doing now.
So I think you do need to go and see a physio to get some massage and some heat treatment to start with, and then get some exercises and build those up gradually. So you probably might need to see the physio 2 or 3 times a week for a little while to build that up. And I think you probably better give up footy at least for a couple of weeks till we've got this a bit settled. And then perhaps come back and see me after you've seen the physio. Talk to the physio about when he or she thinks you need to come back and see me and see how you're going.
Okay. So let's have a look at the answers for that. Here we are. Nope. This one. Okay. Suggested course of action. He needs to see a physio or physiotherapist. He needs to get a massage, heat treatment, exercises and build up gradually. He should see a physio 2 to 3 times a week. Give up footy. Footy is another word for football. That's particularly commonly used, I think, in Australia. Alex knows all about football, so I won't even comment. I'm not that excited about football myself. So give up footy for a couple of weeks.
Fiona, are you telling me, Fiona, that you're not watching the World Cup right now?
I vaguely hear about it, Alex, but no, sorry.
So just to kind of fill people in, footy could refer, in Australia, could refer to Aussie rules football or football or what Americans call soccer. But anyway, that is not really that important to mention.
Okay, so yeah, this guy was probably very upset to hear that he had to give up football for a couple of weeks. And he needs to come back and see his GP when the physio thinks it's the right time. Yeah. So those are...
I wanted to mention the importance of that word footy is reminding me of how important it is. And I did give this advice to everybody at the beginning that it's important not to just with listening and reading and all aspects of OET for your practice, not just to follow past examination papers, but you should really be listening to different kinds of speaking in different with different resources. YouTube videos, songs are really good as well. I've met countless people who've improved their English so much by listening to songs. Like I said before, YouTube videos, there's some fantastic medical documentaries where they'll be using these these colloquialisms like footy, etc. So make sure you make best use of that. I mean, if you're doing this exam 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have such, the depth and breadth of resources that are involved, when it comes to YouTube and the internet resources, etc. So you've got a lot that can benefit you. So please make best use of that, because you could expect words like footy instead of football. And if you're in the exam, you think, what does footy mean? So if you have all these different various resources to hand, then you'll know it'll come to you immediately.
Yes. Good. Yeah, very, very true, Alex. And actually, you guys are so lucky that you have all these amazing resources. And I'm not going to give away my age, but when I was learning French at school...
21.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Around there. When I was learning French at school, we had the language lab, and we had a lady with a tape recorder. And once a week, she would play the tape recorder, and we might listen to the French news. And we had no other way of listening to French. So You guys have absolutely no excuse because you have the internet. Yeah. So yes, I guess that wraps it up. We're
pretty much. I've got some
questions. Yes,
questions, and we and I just want to say as well that we are doing today's session in collaboration with, I think, the most popular Facebook group for OET right now, which is the OET World, run by the Kumar and his fantastic team. So I've actually put that link in the description box if you want to join that group, and I highly recommend you to do that. Make sure you go to that group. I think Kumar has actually posted the link inside the chat box. There's around about 16,000 doctors and nurses in there, so it's a very supportive community. And Shazia says, how can I contact you? I want to help from Fiona, etc. Okay, no problem. Well, you can go to our website, Shazia. I will put the link inside the chat box for you, swooshenglish.com. Please keep we've got a few minutes remaining, so if you've got any questions, please let us know. We've had lots of people sharing the OET live class video today. We've had Marvet, Hussein's completed it. Thank you, my man, Hussein. Who else have we got? All these other people. We've had some really active people today, like Narges and Will Marie, who've been giving answers. Thank you very much. Okay, and so what have we got? We've got questions coming through. Okay, link for Kumar. So Mansoor, we will have Kumar putting that link in the chat box. If you can do that for us, Kumar, so people can join your Facebook group. Wow. Okay, not 16,000 members, nearly 18,000 members. Thank you very much for the correction, Kumar. He's very clued up on his numbers of how many people he's got. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a very good community. If you want to find out, I think, who was it, the student who was asking about how we can get help. Shazia Haider was asking how we can help. And I'm guessing Shazia has got her examination in July, because what we are doing, we've got a special program that we're putting together right now, and we're going to be releasing details tomorrow, not to the general public. It's only to the people who complete the survey. We've had over 200 doctors and nurses complete that survey so far. It's about 30 seconds, and it helps us to know what you're looking for and how we can help you, what your weak areas are, and the focus for the next couple of weeks if you've got your exam in July, and 6 weeks if you've got your exam in August. Where is the link for the survey? Said Afitayo. I'm going to post that for you now. So that's a Google form that I've just posted inside the Facebook chat. So you'll be able to get that session. You'll be able to get that survey rather. Need2 said, very good class. Thank you. Thanks a lot. You're very welcome, G2. Just be careful with your spelling, G-O-O-D. Make sure you use correct English as much as possible. Fiona and I are the grammar police, aren't we, Fiona? Grammar and spelling police. Okay. So Rahili says, what's the method of scoring for listening? So Rahili, so it is 50-50. So 50% for listening part A and 50% for listening part B. They are equally weighted. Of course, this is the existing format of the listening exam right now, and September it will be going into 3 sections. But if you've got your exam in July and August, you'll be doing the current format. Okay. Naga said, how many correct answers should we have? Do we have to get a B in listening? You should be getting around about 2/3 of your answers correct. Okay, 2/3 of your answers correct for both reading and listening. It's difficult to say if it's a more of a difficult examination. When I say difficult, OET have evaluated all the answers from all the students across whoever did that examination in that particular month. And if there was a less amount of correct answers, then they would have deemed that as more of a challenging examination and brought the score down a little bit to maybe 60 or 61%. But if there's a higher degree of correct answers, then it'll be around about 65, 66%. But don't really be aiming for that. Just try to aim to get as many correct answers as possible. Okay, Will Marie said, thank you so much. You're very welcome. Mina, thank you, Alex. Claire said, I am retaking in July because I got a C in listening last May. Okay, so this is why I said at the beginning, and sorry to hear that you didn't get past first time, Claire. I want as many of you as possible to be passing on your first attempt. So that's why the advice I give probably most weeks is to find a good quality preparation program. Not just Swoosh English, but there's other fantastic schools out there, great teachers available. So make sure you choose one of those. But self-study is difficult if you want to get 4 Bs or above first time. Of course, you all need 4 Bs, but a lot of students are just so proud that they want to do everything by themselves. And for writing and speaking especially, it's very difficult to get a B if you don't know where your grammar mistakes lie. Or, you know, for example, I just said about the spelling mistakes of that person who said good lesson, GUD. Sometimes you need a teacher to tell you those things. And we see that a lot, Fiona. You know, we see a lot of students who when they first start the course, maybe they're hitting like a grade C in their writing, and then you can see the improvements again and again, can't you?
Yes, absolutely. And I totally agree. I think, it's really not possible that's quite a tall order to get 4 Bs on your own first time. I do think everyone needs some guidance. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Claire, if you got a C last time in May and you're retaking the exam in July, that's a very short window of time. I don't know how much preparation you've been doing, but that's a very short window of time to go from a C to a B. I'm not saying that's not possible, but you're probably better off getting some kind of preparation program that will allow you to make that jump, because a lot of students are doing what you do. They don't get the scores that they need in May, and then they're taking it immediately afterwards. And in most cases, they're getting the exact same scores. So I don't want you to be wasting your time, money, and energy. Okay, so please, I hope you take my advice on board. Like I said, you don't necessarily need to join the Swoosh English classes, but there's some other really good schools and websites out there as well. Christian said, so good. You're very, very welcome. Any last tips for the students on listening part A, Fiona, that you want to share with them?
As Alex was saying, listen to as many different accent varieties as you can, as many different types of materials. Practice note-taking as well. So you don't have to practice OET exam papers all the time. You could listen to a lecture on maybe a TED Talk or something like that, and take notes, write notes, and see how well you do. Yeah.
Yeah, so, exactly. For example, you might be watching or listening to a TED Talk. I think TED Talks have it in a podcast format now, if I'm not mistaken. And for example, the speaker might say, I don't know if you're, and ideally, I would say to look for medical TED Talks. But it doesn't necessarily have to just be medical, but you could have a variety, but medical ones would be good. If the person says, for example, and, maybe they're giving a lecture on some research they've undertaken on the brain, and they say, okay, there was 3 big findings that I came across, and it was X, Y, Z. Make notes on them, exactly like Fiona just said. Don't just listen to it. Pretend it's the real examination. Simulate that. And I think that would be really good practice for you. Any other remarks?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Fiona, go on.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Also, okay. I think you can, so having done that, I think you can check that you've done it well if you are able to read your notes to someone else, for example, and for them to make sense, for your notes to make sense when you summarize to someone else. Also, in TED Talks, you can get an interactive transcript so you can see the exact words that the speaker has used, and you can compare that with your notes to see if they make sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good advice on the transcripts, Fiona. So if you go onto Google, go to TED Talks, TED, and then Talks, TALKS. Definitely check out that resource. But there's so many other resources. We could be talking about that all day. Claire said before you go, what program do you offer for retakers? That is one of the reasons why I keep putting I put the survey, the Google form into the chat box a few times today, because those people who submit that 30-second survey will be able to join potentially one of our July and August programs. There are a couple of stipulations. We're not accepting everybody, of course, because we've had, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people watching today, and roughly around about 80 to 100 people at any one time watching live. So if you're getting grades of if you've done a previous exam, so someone like Claire who got 3 Bs and 1 C, you would be eligible. But if your level is a lot lower than that, for example, if you got 5s in your IELTS, band score 5 across the board, or you've got less than C's in your previous OET exam, then this is not for you right now. And I would probably say focus on your general English. But if you can meet that eligibility and you can prove that you got your exam in July or August, then we would definitely love to have an application from you, and we will be reviewing all applications, and then we'll be choosing the people who we want to have in the program. Like I said, we can't have hundreds of people in this, and because we like to keep our class sizes quite small, which Fiona knows too well. Whereas other schools out there, they might be having 50 students in the class, and how would you be able to help all of those students? We really want to focus on quality rather than quantity of students. So hopefully, Lucio says, can you resend the survey? I will do. So thank you very much to Fiona. I appreciate you as always. We've had so many people coming into the class today, and they've all said how helpful it has been. And before I go, make sure you share today's OET live class video, okay? And Lucio, I literally just posted that link for you. Google Forms in the chat box, okay? Just check that. So that link is there for you. If you want to get our model answer for OET writing, all you need to do 2 steps. Share today's Facebook Live video to your Facebook page, step 1. Step 2, write in the chat box, I have shared the OET live class video, and our system will automatically send you your free OET writing model answer for you to learn from. Writing is the big struggle that students are having right now. So I have posted that link. Please let me know if you've got that survey link. We are going to be emailing those students tomorrow, and then we'll be asking those students to give us their previous IELTS or OET scores, and also evidence of their examination confirmation for OET for July or August. So aside from that, everybody, thank you very much for coming into the class today, for taking part. I love having so many of you and helping so many of you around the world. That's the power of the internet, to help students from all countries around the world. I'm in London. Obviously, Fiona's in the UK, but we've got students from Africa, South America, different parts of Europe, the UK, all around the world. So it's fantastic to be able to help so many students. And really, to be honest with you, since we've started OET, the results have been huge and much higher than we were experiencing for IELTS, particularly with the IELTS writing section of the paper was proving very difficult for students. Please let me know in the chat box if you were getting a 6.5 for writing, because that was a big problem that students were having before. And although we had good results for IELTS, the OET results we've been having are much, much better. So you're in the right place. If I was a doctor or nurse, I would also choose OET, even though I shouldn't be giving my opinion, because we teach students for IELTS and for OET. But I think it's definitely an examination that will help you to get the grades you're looking for to then start your new life in the UK. So thank you very much, everyone. Make sure you go to swooshenglish.com if you want some of our free materials, or you want to learn about our preparation programs. And we are going to be releasing details very soon about our OET challenges for July and August exam takers. I'm very excited about that, and it was a very exciting program to offer last month. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a good rest of the day, and I look forward to helping you pass your OET examination.
Right, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Have you not set up the PowerPoint, or?
Oh, I can do that. I can do that.
Sorry, I thought you had, Alex. Otherwise,
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. 1 second, everybody.
Issues.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Okay, 1 second. Okay. So in the meantime, please keep your questions coming. Okay, please keep your questions coming in the chat box, and we want to help as many of you as possible today. So, okay, Fiona, so just let me know if I sent it to you on Skype as well, but if you prefer me to share the slides, then I'm happy to do that as well.
No, that's fine. Let me just find it on Skype.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's see. So some questions are coming through while we're setting up. Rafia, what's the best way to be ready in 2 months' time? Rafia, what I would say to you is, 2 months, it depends on what level you're at right now. So I'm guessing you want to get a grade B, whether you're I think you're a doctor. So for example, if you were at a 5 or a 5.5 in IELTS previously, I would say 2 months is not enough time. Okay, so it depends on your level. But if you're at a 6.5, depends on, of course, how many hours per day you're doing, how effective the preparation is. Do you have a native English speaking OET teacher? That's really important. Someone like Fiona or one of the other, great teachers that are on the internet, different schools, etc. If you had access to that, then yes, you can definitely pass in 2 months. Okay, obviously no guarantees, because no school should be saying to you that you can definitely 100% pass, because all of these things really are. All of these are based on many different factors, so it just depends on the student. But I would advise you to get a teacher if you can. Really have a strategy for your preparation too. Okay, that's important. And I think that's probably, I could probably talk about that for even longer, but I won't, because we are going to go over to Fiona now. So I will let Fiona, if you want to share screen, and
yes.
Away you go. Maybe I need to make you the.
I don't know. I seem to have shared my screen. Is that right?
Oh, okay, perfect. Can everyone see? Can everyone see Fiona's screen? Let me know. Say yes, I can see the screen, and then we'll be good to go. Okay. Say yes, I can see the screen. I can see it on my screen on my phone, Fiona. So yeah, feel free to go ahead.
It should be good to go. Yes, exactly. Okay, so obviously we're going to look at reading today, and reading this part A that we're looking at takes 15 minutes. Probably Alex has told you the basic information, I'm not sure, but it takes 15 minutes, and you have to complete a summary, a gap fill summary. And you have to read 3 to 4 short texts of about 650 words, and those are all related to a specific topic. And this test is for all professions, okay? So you have to basically source information from different texts, from many different texts. It tests your skimming and scanning abilities. Sorry, I'm just going to make this screen bigger so that you can all see it. Okay. So yes, we're going to look at reading part A. We're going to look at how you would practice your skimming and scanning techniques, and how you would expand your vocabulary in relation to the reading, and use the vocabulary and keywords in order to find the answers in the reading. So let's go to the next screen. So this is just the instructions that you get in your text booklet. You get 2 booklets. One's text with the 3 to 4 short texts, and the other one is the answer booklet where you write your answers. Okay. I'm not going to go through that in too much detail. Again, we have some instructions here. Quite important, 15 minutes is your time limit. You have to write your answers in the answer booklet. This is important. You do not need to read each text from beginning to end to complete the task. Okay, so that's good news for most people. This is only 15 minutes, part A, and a lot of students find that the most challenging thing about it. So don't try and read every single word of the text. You will not have time. Okay, so in order to do it well, you should practice your skimming and scanning techniques, reading quickly to find information. So it says here, you should scan the text to find the information you need. Remember, I told you have to complete a summary. I will show it to you in a minute so it will be clear. But you might have to put 1 or 2 or 3 words into each gap. Marks are not deducted for incorrect answers. If you get it wrong, doesn't matter. Okay, so write something in the gap. Correct spelling and no abbreviations unless they appear in the text. Okay, let's look at the next screen. So this is one of the texts. And you can see that we have a headline for all of the texts, junior sports injuries. So all these texts are about the same topic. And that is this. So you need to quickly read what's the topic, okay? And you also need to read the title of each of the 4 texts. Okay, so here we can see that it says Patterns of Injury in US High School Sports, a Review. Okay, so that's really all I'm going to do. I'm just going to quickly read that headline, move on to the next text. Again, quickly read the headline, Literature Review Extract, Prevention of Sports Extracts, of sports injuries, prevention. So this is all talking about prevention. Then here, text 3, Best Practice Guidelines for Junior Sports Injury Management and Return to Play. So if you have been injured, what happens when you start playing again? And text 4, Research Briefs on Sports Injuries in Canada. So this text is about Canada. If we just go back again, this text is US high schools. Okay, so all of those headings are giving us clues as to where we can find the answers to the gap fill summary that's coming up. Okay, you'll see that in 1 second. This is the answer booklet, okay? Some instructions, same instructions. And this is the summary that you have to complete. Now, I'll just show it to you in full right now. You can see here we've got 2 paragraphs, okay, with some gaps in them. And we have 27 gaps that you have to complete. You write your answers here on the right-hand side, okay? So how do you do this? Well, you have already read all of the titles, all of the headlines. That's it. You haven't read anything else, okay? So now you should read, for example, the first paragraph, okay? And read the first paragraph, and while you're reading, first of all, try to think of where you might find the answers to that, to those gaps, where you might find the information that goes into those gaps. And then try to predict what kind of words go into the gaps. So for example, here, let's have a look at the beginning of the paragraph. Guidelines for junior sports injury management suggest that there is only a small risk of being something. Okay, so I remember somewhere in one of the texts, it talked about guidelines. It mentioned the word guideline. So let's go back and see if we can find where that might be. Best practice guidelines for junior sports injury management. So I've got a pretty good idea that it's going to be in there, okay? That the answer is going to be in there. So I then maybe look at some of the keywords around that sentence. Well, that's a keyword. I go back, there is only a small risk of being what? So let's have a look in here, best practice guidelines. When coaches, officials, sports first aiders, other safety personnel, parents and participants follow the safety guidelines, so we've got the key word, the risk of serious injury is minimal, okay? The risk of serious injury is minimal. There is only a small risk, so you can see we've got that key word, of being, and then you could probably guess that the word that goes in here would be injured, okay? So you have to change the grammar of the word depending on the sentence structure. Here we had injury, but injured fits into the gap, okay? So I'm doing lots and lots of things when I'm trying to complete the gap fill. I'm trying to predict where the information is going to come from. Generally, the information for one paragraph comes from one text, but not always, okay? So for the moment, I'm going to assume that most of this information comes from this text, okay? I'm going to look, if you remember, I said we should predict information. So let's continue to read. However, statistics show that injury of some kind is reasonably common. In Canada, for example, around something children under 15 are injured every something. So actually now it talks about Canada. So that gives me a clue as to where I can find this information. And it's probably not going to be in the text that we just saw. It's probably going to be in this text. Okay, so because I read the headlines, I know where to find the information. And this one's pretty easy, actually. We're looking for a number, right? If you remember, in Canada, for example, around something children, probably a number. So we go back here, Canada, number. And let's just check it. So approximately 3 million children and adolescents aged 14 and under get hurt annually. Okay, so if we go back, in Canada, for example, around, and this would be 3 million, children under 15 are injured every, so remember the word was annually, and you can probably guess that the word we need here is year, okay? So we can't write just the word, we can't take the word from the text and write it into the gap. Not always, sometimes we can do that, but they are also testing your ability to fit your language and your comprehension around the grammar and the structure of the sentences in the text. So yes, that's where your grammar abilities will come into play, and your language abilities. So if we continue, while it's very unusual for these injuries to something, what could that be? So I'm trying to predict, yes. While it's very unusual, and then I've got here this keyword is unusual, right? So I'm trying to keep this in my head before I go back to the text. And actually, when you've got the papers in front of you, it's going to be much easier than it is for us right now, because I have to keep scrolling back and trying to remember the information. You'll have them right there in front of you. So again, while it's very unusual, I think that's a key word. It's got a lot of information. Injuries to something. I think I need a verb here, right? They do make up just under 1/5 of something among children and adolescents. So more keywords: children, adolescents, Canada, unusual, 1/5. Okay, so do you see what I'm doing? I'm getting all the keywords. A good strategy for this is maybe to underline words that you think really are key and contain the right information. We then go back to the text and find synonyms for these words or these words, right? So if we go back.
Just a quick one. This is something that I always say in the Facebook Lives. There's a few people, Marvy's saying I can't see the text. If you're watching on a mobile phone, I'm also looking at a mobile phone. I can't see it very well, and I suppose that's the limitation of using a mobile phone. If you've got a laptop, like for example, I can see this on a laptop, it looks perfect. So if you are looking at a phone, and if please let me know you're looking at a laptop or a phone, as much as possible, try to come to these Facebook classes try to watch them on a laptop if you can. But if there's a lot of people on mobile phones, perhaps maybe we could zoom in a little bit. I don't know if you can do that, Fiona, but
okay.
If we've got a lot of students who are looking at the session on their mobile phone, we will try as much as possible to accommodate you. So, okay.
Yeah, it's difficult to zoom in much actually, because on the page. But let me just see. Let's try that.
But Jacob said he can see okay, so. Okay, good. Okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So actually, what I wanted to do for the next paragraph is perhaps get you to do something. So it's a little bit more interactive. It's not easy when we have so many people, but I'll try to do that in the next paragraph. So let's just go back to this last sentence here. It says, while it's very unusual for these injuries to something, verb, they do make up just under 1/5 of something among children and adolescents in Canada. Keywords, easy to find words. Canada, right? Remember, we were in the text for Canada. It's got a capital C. So it's easy to skim the text and quickly find a word with a capital letter, for example. Yep, so we find the text for Canada. And we need unusual, 1/5, children and adolescents. Let's see if that helps us. So we've got Canada, injuries, children and adolescents, yes, although death from a sports injury is rare, the leading cause of death from a sports-related injury is a brain injury. Sorry, let me just... Yes, okay. So although death from a sports injury is rare, do you remember we had unusual before? I'm so sorry, my memory is terrible these days. That's the problem with getting older. So trying to retain all this information is difficult. But anyway, it was unusual, okay? And that is rare, so we know that the information is going to come from here. And while it is very unusual for these injuries to, and probably you have been thinking maybe it's something like cause death or lead to death, yes? Although death from a sports injury is rare. So we need to make it fit into the structure of the sentence. We need a verb, so to cause death or to result in death. They do make up just under 1/5 of something among children. So 1/5, they're probably not going to give us the words 1/5. They might give us a percentage, and here it is, 18%, 1/5. Okay, so that's a synonym of one of the key words. Traumatic brain injuries should be the answer here. Okay, so they do make up just under 1/5 of traumatic brain injuries among children and adolescents in Canada. So here we have all the answers to this first paragraph. All right. Now, what I would like you to do is just spend a couple of minutes having a look at this next paragraph. Do you remember, actually, I don't have the Facebook questions in front of me, but hopefully you remember what you need to do when you first read the paragraph. So basically you need to try to read the paragraph, try to predict the information that will go in the gaps, underline the key words, okay? And then go back to the text and try and find synonyms for those keywords and try and find, well, first of all, which text it's going to be in, and then synonyms for those keywords. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a minute or two just on your own, thinking about which are the key words in this second paragraph and maybe predicting the type of word that would go into each gap. And I'll see if I can see any of your comments here in front of me. I should be able to actually. Maybe someone could send me a comment that says where, in which of the texts we could find that information.
I think that's a good idea, Fiona. Step one, yes. Yeah, to find, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just go back quickly. So got text A1, okay, patterns of injury in US high school sports. literature review extract, prevention of sports injuries. And then we've got these two here. Okay. Okay. So where do you think we're going to find this information? Does anyone know? Can anyone write something?
Sanjith has wrote the cause of. Jacob A1, text A1.
Text A1, Jacob, I think you're on the money. What does anyone else think? Actually, I'm not sure if it's A1. What do you guys think? The first one?
S1 said the first one.
Okay. Okay, and why do you think the first one? Can you tell me why you think the first one, anyone? What was the word that told you that? Research, okay, yep. Because that's talking about, yes, research, results, conclusions. It's all about a review. And also, the key word here is a US study, yeah, US. So, yeah. Okay. And we have, Sanjit says, patterns. Yes, and I think you're actually answering question number 6. Maybe you didn't mean to, but a US study which investigated the patterns of injuries across a range of sports. So yes, we know it's the first one from US, but the something of injuries across a range of sports found that the safe. So we know this is talking about the patterns of injury, right? So of injury in high school sports, and we know that we've got a range of sports. If you quickly scan through the text, you've got wrestling, baseball, field hockey, softball, etc. Okay. Good. So some nice answers coming through there. So you can see that just by spending that couple of minutes, not even that, skimming the headlines, we know where to find the information. Okay. So investigated the, what was the answer to that one? There was another possibility, sorry. Oops. Number 6, let's go back and find it. Okay, so which investigates the something of injuries across a range of sports. Yes, okay, so you could put patterns, or you could put the relative frequency of injuries, okay, amongst, because it says here among sports. So it could be patterns or relative frequency. So you're always looking for synonyms. Okay, so here we have, across a range of sports, found that the safest sport was something, so safest sport, whereas the most likely to cause injury was something else. So 7 is safest, and 8 is most dangerous, most likely to cause injury. So let's see if we can find that by going back again to text 1. Perhaps you can find that here. Which one was the safest and which was the most likely to cause injury? So we're looking for number 7 is safest, and 8 is the opposite. Let's see what you've... okay, getting some good ideas coming through here. Sanjith says volleyball. Does everyone agree with Sanjith about volleyball? It's not quite right. So probably we're going to need to look at results, because we're talking about the findings of the research, so results. Okay, so that's where we're going to get the answer, somewhere in here. Somewhere in these few sentences here. Yeah, people are saying volleyball, but what kind of volleyball? Come on, let's see who can get the answer here. What kind of volleyball? It's not just all volleyball. Okay, what kind of volleyball? Volleyball is not enough. You have to be really, really accurate. I'll give you a really, really easy clue. Is it boys volleyball? Is it boys volleyball? No, no one's going to get it. It's girls volleyball. Look, girls volleyball had, girls volleyball had the lowest rate at 1.7. Okay, so if you don't say girls, you don't get the point, unfortunately. Yes, exactly, Sanjith, girls volleyball. Okay, so be really careful. And the most dangerous is, I think, yes, if sorry, I can't pronounce your name, Iftayao said, Ifetayo, sorry, said football is the most dangerous. Yes. So all you football fanatics, stop playing football. Yes, very dangerous sport. Okay. So, yeah, so we've got number 7 and number 8. Yeah. Football was the most likely to cause injury. Of the injuries observed, more than half were something. Okay, so what do you think is the key word in this sentence here? Of the injuries observed, more than half were something. What's the key word or words to get the answer to number 9? Anyone know? Key word. You can do it. Come on. What's the key word? Just in this sentence. It's not of, right? Because that's a really little word. And injuries probably occurs quite a lot. What's the key information there that we're going to go back to the text and look for? Ah, right. Okay. Sanjith has, yes, good. So more than half, Sanjith says above 50%. Very good. So these are the key words that we're looking for when we skim the text. Okay, so let's go back. See if we can find something that says more than half. Anyone see it? Now I've lost it. I had it just now. Yeah, here we are. Can you see something that says 50%? Anybody?
Yeah. More than accounted for more than 50%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More than 50%. And so we can see that that's sprains and strains accounted for more than 50%. Let's go back, check that. Okay, of the injuries observed, more than half were sprains and strains. Okay, so very often you can just copy the information into the gap, but not always. So you have to be careful about that. You have to make sure that it fits. Then we get to this part, and knee injuries accounted for 60.3% of those that something. So this is going to be quite easy. We're looking for a number, and numbers are really easy to pick out, right? Because they look different. So we're looking for 60.3% knee injuries accounted for this 60.3% of those that what? Let's go back. Let's quickly find 60.3%. Can anyone see that? Maybe it's in a different text. Sorry, 1 second. It's very difficult not having it all in front of me. Of those that knee injuries accounted for 60.3% of those that here we are. Gosh, I can't see. I'm blind. Requiring surgery. Everyone's writing it. Yes, you're all much quicker and much better than I am. Yes, absolutely. Of those that now you can't actually write. Sanjith, you said surgery, and Krishna said requiring surgery, but actually that doesn't fit. Neither of those fits perfectly into the gap. It's the right information, but you've got to put it in the grammatically correct way. Ah, perfect. Noor Salam, well done to you. You said required surgery, those that required surgery. You can see that requiring, those that requiring doesn't make sense, and those that surgery also doesn't make sense. Okay. So well done to Noor. The scope of the US study was limited, however, with something being the only non-ball game studied. Okay, so now we can go back to that text and think about what is the only non-ball game in that text. So find a list of the ball games and tell me what the only non-ball game is. See who can get the answer right first. Noor again. Wow, Noor, you're very good at this. You said wrestling. Correct. Well done, Noor. Here. Okay. So players listed on the school's team rosters for football, wrestling, baseball, field hockey, softball, girls volleyball, etc., etc. All of these are ball games except wrestling. Okay. Well done, Noor. Okay, good. So we've done 2 paragraphs and hopefully you're getting the hang of it. But now I've got to show you that there are quite a lot more gaps that you've got to fill. So, and you have to do this in 15 minutes. So it's really important that you practice this as much as possible, okay? Because you need to improve your skimming skills, your ability to read quickly and scan for specific information. So let's have a look at this next sentence here at the end of this paragraph. Where are we going to find that information? Which text? Okay, so just have a quick read of this. Canadian data, on the other hand, revealed that cycling, skateboarding, and something. Where would we find that information? Let's go back. Which text? Anyone? Which text number? A1, A2, A3, or A4? Sanjith, you are on the ball today, Sanjith. Yes, correct. A4, well done. And why? Because it said Canadian, and here we're talking about Canada. Okay, so we're probably going to get the answers from this text. Canadian data, on the other hand, revealed that cycling, skateboarding, and something. So all we've got to do very quickly is find cycling, skateboarding, and something. Skating incidents. Okay? So that was quite an easy one to find. Okay, so everyone's saying A4 now. Fantastic. Yeah. Good. So it seems like you're getting the hang of this, everybody. So skateboarding and something were the cause of most something associated with sporting activities. What kind of word do you think that could be? This is where predicting skills come in. Someone's already got it. Annalyn says skating incidents, and I think that's the correct answer. Well done, Annalyn. Let's have a look. The majority of head injuries sustained in sports or recreational activities occur during cycling, skateboarding, or skating incidents. Correct. Well done, Annalyn. Yes, lots of people saying that now. Somebody said... Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just saying it's fantastic that so many people are being so active today in today's class, and I think they really took the advice I gave at the beginning to not just watch Fiona teaching a class, but actually to get involved is really important. One thing I wanted to mention is, did everyone see how Fiona was really going back and forth between the text very, very quickly? Okay, in order to find in order to scan and find the specific information that she needed. That's important observation to make. And the other, because really what you're doing is you're seeing how a teacher would do it. You're seeing how a native English speaking OET teacher would do it. Particularly as well about looking for numbers, you could see that numbers are quite easy to find when they're in and around different texts. And the other thing is, when you're looking in a text for a particular gap, but that particular text didn't help you to get the answer, you're constantly familiarizing yourself with the text more and more and more. So when you do see another gap, you say, oh, I looked at that specific part of the paragraph of text A3, 2 minutes ago. Now I remember where that is. And I think Fiona did that a couple of times. So you become really well familiarized with it all. And that's why in the instructions at the beginning, and as Fiona said, don't read the text from beginning to end the whole way through. Okay, you're constantly going, you're going bam, 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 you're going through the text really, really quickly.
Yeah. Good point. Yes, you're familiarizing yourself as you go along. Yeah, absolutely. Good. So we've got lots of answers coming through here. So shall we continue to do this, Alex? Would you like to? Or yes, yeah,
absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely.
Seems like everyone's
a couple more, maybe five minutes or so more. I just want to remind everyone that we've had so many people sharing today's video on their Facebook page. So if you want to get the OET writing model answer, because we're constantly getting so many requests. Swoosh English, please, can you provide some model answers for us? And that's what we're doing today. So if you do share today's video, step one is share the OET live class video on your Facebook page. And then step two, all you need to do is write underneath in the chat box, I have shared the OET live class video, and you'll automatically into your Facebook Messenger, you'll automatically get an OET writing model answer. So you can see what a really good answer looks like, and you can see what really how you can, as the name suggests, model yourself on that. But one thing is, a caveat with that is, you can't just copy those exact same phrases for your own letter. You could have, you don't know what kind of letter, you don't know what kind of case notes you'll be getting in your real exam, but it's something that a lot of students ask for. It will be beneficial to you, so we look forward to giving that to you if you share today's OET live class video.
Okay, great. Right, so let's move on. Where did we get to? Yes, we got to number 14, so we got to this paragraph here. Okay, so once again, we're going to just quickly read the paragraph, try to predict what kind of information is going to come up, and then also think, where am I going to find the answers to these gaps? Where am I going to find the words to put in the gaps? Which paragraph will tell us that, which text? So just have a read of it and have a think about which text might answer those questions. I'll go back to the text in a minute. So read, predict, think about the keywords and how those might help us to find the text that we need. Okay, Alex was actually just mentioning a very good point, which I also mentioned earlier, about finding numbers. We had a percentage earlier. So numbers are really easy to find because they look different. And what else is really easy to find? Can you find something in this paragraph which would be really easy to find in the text? Which words stand out in this paragraph? Anyone? See if anyone can get that. Which words stand out in this paragraph? There are 3 words which look different from all the other words. Ah. Okay. People are saying which text it is, which is great. We'll go back to the text in a minute. It's really difficult because we haven't got the text on here, obviously, but yes, A3. Everyone's saying it's A3. Okay. I just wanted to get okay. Thank you, Raluca. Risa, no harm. Okay, why is that easier? Well, it's all in capital letters. Okay. So let's go back. Here, Risa, no harm. Okay, so that's a big clue. It's so easy, it just jumps out at you. Okay. The other thing is that this text is called Best Practice Guidelines for Junior Sports Injuries. So, you know, what to do if, you know, you have had an injury during a sports game. So for those adults and children involved in junior sports, it's best practice. So remember, it said best practice guidelines. Okay, so it is best practice to ensure that something is done if an injury does occur. And I think a couple of people got this one right. So let's go back to text A3. And what did you write? Somebody wrote no harm. I think you'd need an extra word in there. What extra word would you need? Not just no harm. I think a third word in there. No something harm. I'll give you a clue. It's in the second paragraph of text A3. Second paragraph. No, so Annalyn says no further harm or no further damage, okay? If an injury does occur, the golden rule in managing it is do no further damage. Let's go back again. So it is best practice to ensure that no further harm or further damage is done if an injury does occur. I think further is important, and I think if you didn't write it, they wouldn't give you a point, unfortunately. So you have to be really careful, yeah? So no further harm is done or no further damage is done. In the first instance, reading on here, in the first instance, the injury should be evaluated by a something. Okay, so this is probably going to be a person of some kind, right? Maybe some kind of specialist person. Okay, so in the first instance, okay, the injury should be evaluated by a something. Let's see if we can find out. So that's number 15. See if you can find it in paragraph 2. That's the clue. Okay. Anyone get that? So who, which kind of person? Probably some kind of specialist person. Let's go back. In the first instance, the injury should be evaluated by a, yes. Sanju said, appropriately qualified person. Right, this is important. Okay, it says appropriately qualified person, okay? But it also says a, and you can't say a appropriately, right? But you would have to say an appropriately. So you would need to here leave appropriately and say a qualified person, or a suitably qualified person. So you see how we're fitting in with the grammar of the sentence here. If you put appropriately qualified person, it would unfortunately be wrong, okay? Because it doesn't fit with the grammar. You can't say appropriately. Okay, so somebody else had a question earlier on, which was really good. I'm just going to go back and, Yeah, so Ahmed earlier on said, do no further damage, and that's 4 words. And you're absolutely right. We can't write do no further damage because it doesn't fit in with the grammar of the sentence. So here, it is best practice to ensure that no further damage is done. Okay? We can't write do. They write do, but we have to change the sentence. We've got a passive here and an active sentence in the text. Yeah, the golden rule in managing it is do no further damage. Here we had to put no further damage is done. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Ahmed.
The other thing, Fiona, is the fact that you can only have 3 words maximum.
Well, that's right. So that's what I meant. Yeah.
I almost feel like they're trying to trick them a little bit, because they put in inverted commas, do no further damage, which is 4 words.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an element of trying to trick them a little bit.
Oh, they do set traps. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So be careful
yes, exactly.
Of the traps, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Don't fall into the traps. Yes, here, for example, it says gaps may require 1, 2, or 3 words. So you were right to ask that, Ahmed. And as Alex says, be careful of the traps. Okay. So 2 management plans. Let's continue. 2 management plans which should be followed are RISA, no harm, and something. This is quite easy. We just find RISA, no harm, and something else. So immediate management approaches include, so one of them is RISA, no harm, and guess what? The other one is, I'm sure you got it, DRABCD, this one, okay? So it's really easy to find things like this because they stand out as being different from the rest of the text. Okay, so RISA, no harm, and DRABCD, okay. A key feature of the former, so the former is RISA, no harm, so we have to keep that in mind, is that the child should be prevented from doing any further what? Okay, this is a slightly trickier one. Okay, so the former, remember, was RISA, no harm. So when an injury is sustained, apply rest, ice, compression, elevation, referral, and no heat, alcohol, running, or massage. Can you see it's something in here? Something in here. I'll go back to the paragraph in a minute. Let's go back to the summary. Okay, wait a minute. A key feature of the former is that the child should be prevented from doing any further. So it's some kind of activity. What should the child not be allowed to do? Should be prevented from doing any further. Could they do alcohol? I don't think so, right? That doesn't make sense. Could they do heat? Nope. Could they do running, maybe? Or massage? I don't think the child would do any massage, would they? So it's probably going to be running. Okay? That's a slightly more difficult one. You really have to kind of read between the lines for that one. But it is the only activity there that a child would do. It is advised that any child who has been injured should have something before returning to play. So again, we're looking for key words. I guess here, maybe returning to play. Let's go back. Anyone? Obviously, in this paragraph here. Before returning to play, what should a child have? So the key words, I think, are before returning to play. See if you can find a synonym of those words in the text. And I'll give you a clue, it's not at the beginning and it's not in the middle. So it might be at the end. Got some more comments here, which I hadn't seen. Somebody does have it, yes. Somebody has got it right. A couple of people have got it right. Yes, Mohammed, Sijo, and Sanjeev, medical clearance. Annalyn, Raluca, lots of people. Well done. Yes. So before returning to play, right? Prior to returning to sport. So we're just looking for keywords, synonyms. Any child who has sustained an injury should have medical clearance. Okay? Excellent. Doing a great job here, everybody. Now, last paragraph. Hooray. Head injuries are considered very serious, and children who have lost consciousness should be something. Okay, this is probably a verb, and we need to find a text that talks about head injuries and what should happen when people have head injuries. Ideally, children involved in sports such as rugby, so that might be a key word, should wear what? Because according to recent research, such preventative measures can something of concussion and also stop something. Okay, a few clues here. First one is head injuries, maybe rugby. Let's go back. What number is it? It's number 19. Anyone? Okay, so Siji says removed from the activity actually is the correct answer. So here we've got serious head injuries. Okay, must be removed from the activity. Okay. Head injuries are considered very serious, and children who've lost consciousness should be removed from the activity. Ideally, children involved in sports such as rugby should wear something. Now, let's think about where we find the word rugby. And does anyone know? Can anyone see the word rugby? Yes, Noah's got it. Okay, so we've actually gone to another text because we didn't have rugby in this text, okay? So here we've got Canadian rugby players, okay? Protective headgear. Let's just double check that. Ideally, children involved in sports such as rugby should wear protective headgear, right? Good. So a couple of people got that.
Hi, Fiona. We are wrapping up now because we do have to finish in about 3 minutes. So yeah, we'll if we can quickly wrap up. I know that basically I've got, as I mentioned before, our VIP students have got a speaking mock exam class that we will be doing soon. So so please, if you can do your last answers, put them in the message box. And Fiona will give you some feedback.
Can I just correct something as well? Sanjeev is obviously very wide awake. A few people are as well. They said removed from the activity is forwards. Correct, and we shouldn't write forward. So actually, you would have to change that to maybe removed from play, for example. You couldn't, removed from play, because play here is a general concept. It doesn't have to have the definite article the. Whereas if we put activity, we would. So you'd have to say removed from play, So very good, very well noticed there. Can't remember where exactly it was. Let's see. Number 19. Yes, should be, who've lost consciousness, should be removed from play. Yeah, okay. now. Sorry, did you want me to continue, Alex, or?
No, we're going to have to end it now, unfortunately.
Yeah. No problem. Yes.
What would your last kind of sentiments be, Fiona, based on what we've talked about today with reading part A, and the kind of like last minute pointers that you would give the students?
Yeah. Okay. So the key thing is to practice, because you do need to improve your skimming and scanning skills, because you simply don't have enough time to read every single word. So you have to be able to just skim over the words that you don't know, have the confidence to do that. And yeah, the more you practice, the better it is. So I would say definitely practice makes perfect. Look for keywords, try to predict information that's going to come into the gaps, and make sure you fit it with the grammar of the sentence.
Awesome. And the
it.
other thing I would say as well is I would highly recommend you in your practice to use a stopwatch. Use a stopwatch on your phone and time yourself, because as we all identified at the beginning when I said what's your biggest challenge with reading part A, you all said the time constraints, the fact that you've only got 15 minutes. So if you're spending, of course, we've done it really slowly today, so Fiona could explain everything to you in detail and go through it with you all in an analytical fashion. But you won't be able to spend this amount of time on reading part A in the exam, because of course you only have 15 minutes. So absolutely use a stopwatch, time yourself, get into the rhythm, get into the mode of only spending 15 minutes. And, in a lot of cases, remember, don't panic if you don't answer every single question. Remember, you've got 25 to 35 gap fills. In this one, you've got 27. You might not be able to complete all of those in 15 minutes, okay? But don't worry about that, because remember, 2/3 of your marks are coming in part B. So if a lot of your, if most of your answers, answers and they're correct in part B, then you're still on course to get your grade B. So you need to change this fast thinking mindset and from part A, and as soon as you transfer it to part B, you need to slow things down a little bit, take in a few deep breaths, because like I said, part B is where you'll get most of your marks. Please let me know. Please let Fiona and I know in the message box, what would you like us to focus on next time? Of course, we generally don't have too much opportunity to give free classes, because we have to focus on our paid VIP program students. We're really working with them very closely. Fiona does classes with our students and our nurses, classes for nurses and our classes for doctors, and some of our other teachers as well conduct classes. So we are working very closely with them. But if at all possible, when we do have opportunities available, if we have a class next week or the week after, maybe, I don't know if we'll be having a class next week, but if we do, then please let us know what you would want us to focus on. Some students have been asking about the fact that they've got their exam in July or August or even September, and they're looking for a preparation program. Definitely go to our website, swooshenglish.com, where you could work with someone like Fiona in our live classes and get support from some of our teachers in our Facebook group, where you can post your writing and get feedback from our teachers and grade estimations. A lot of our VIP students are having a lot of benefit from that. They're gaining a lot, they're improving a lot. So what I would say is, before we go, is Fiona and I, we see a lot of students, well, a lot of emails that I receive, Facebook, etc. They're taking their exams second time, third time. Okay, a lot of people are saying that the OET exam is an expensive exam. So it's much better to find a school, whether it's Swoosh or whether it's another good quality provider that's out there. Make sure you, in my opinion, you want to be saving your time and saving your money, because if you invest and you buy a preparation program, you have a very good opportunity to pass first time if you do everything that they tell you to do. And don't be one of those students who's taking the exam 2, 3, 4 times, because it can be quite a frustrating process. So if you do want to look into some of our programs, go to swooshenglish.com. Thank you so much for your participation today. I think we've got some star students, Fiona, in this class who've been who've been giving their answers today. And hopefully this was helpful to you. Please let me know, was it helpful, in the chat box. I want to say thank you very much to Fiona for giving all of her teaching to you today. I hope it was beneficial to you. And other than that, everybody, good luck with your preparations. Like I said, if you want to get more of our free materials or you want to look into our paid programs, go to swooshenglish.com. If you still want to get access to the model answers that we talked about today, then you can share this Facebook Live video to your Facebook page. And then once you've done that, underneath this video, you can write, I have shared the OET live class video, and we will send that to you. Okay, so Sanjay said very helpful. He's been a star student today, Fiona. Sanjay.
Yeah, he's been great. Yes.
Mathrua, Raluca, Ahmed, all saying thank you very much. Jilby said thank you. Can you give listening tips, reading tips, Sunita? Okay, listening tips, said Avi. If you are committed and you want you want more and more of these kinds of classes, then come and join us in our paid program. We'd love to have you there. But other than that, thank you very much, Fiona, and I look forward to seeing you in one of our VIP programs soon. One of the many classes that Fiona teaches. So have a good rest of the day, everybody. All the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, Maureen. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can indeed, Alex. Thank you very much. And Eid Mubarak to any of our Muslim students celebrating today.
Exactly. It's a big holiday today, so celebrations for all of you today. I don't know if you've got a pair of headphones, Maureen. There's a bit of an echo coming back from when I'm speaking.
I can go and get some if you've got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, actually, it's gone now. It was a bit of an echo. Now it's gone. Oh no! Now it's come back. Could you get some headphones, please? Or maybe I can do that. Let's see if it's any better now. Okay. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, if I take my headphones out. Let me see. So Aisha said I'd Mubarak. So back to you, Maureen. Okay. So I think can everyone hear me? Okay. Say yes, I can hear you in the chat box. I've taken my headphones out and it's taken away the echo. So I think it's okay if Maureen doesn't have the headphones. So you've got a lot of hi Maureen, some Aureen, Asher. Oh, thank you, Maureen, for your welcome. Okay. We've got over 100 students watching you right now, Maureen. So they're not here for me, they're here for you. They want to hear what it's like previously when you were an OET speaking interlocutor. Okay. We're very excited because we've got 2 OET speaking ex-interlocutors as part of our team here at Swoosh English. So it's very exciting. Maureen is based in Dubai, but can you just give us a quick introduction, Maureen, and tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Maureen. As Alex said, I live and work in Dubai. I'm a teacher, an English teacher. I have taught IELTS, and I have been an OET interlocutor as well in the past. So I've got some experience, and hopefully be able to share some of that experience with you all today. Yeah. So if you've got any questions, just go ahead, let me know.
Fantastic. So we've got lots of people here. They are lots of people are here, and I want to see what kinds of questions people have got. Archie said, "I'm so nervous for tomorrow's examination." So actually, that brings me on to my first question for you, Maureen. So I'm going to jump in and ask you a question. How do you deal with someone who's really nervous? Maybe the words are not able to come out of their mouth. Or what do OET tell you to do in that scenario? If they just kind of froze, or have you ever had a student who froze, and what did they do? What did you do?
Yeah, lots of times. Not as nervous as you are, but we have a job to do as well. So we're very keen to get the job right. Can you still hear me? Because I've got a message that says I was muted. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, yeah, I have had students that, or candidates that are very nervous. Main thing to do before you go in is just relax. Remember that the interlocutor is there to help you. He or she is there to work with you and to help you go through the speaking test. And it's the interlocutor's job, if you like, to give you as much opportunity as possible to do as well as possible on the test. So they are absolutely on your side. They're not trying to trick you or trip you up or penalize you in any way. They're there to help you do as well as you possibly can. So that's the first thing. The second thing, always remember to breathe some nice deep breaths, and use the first few minutes to just calm yourself down, because the first 3 or 4 minutes of the speaking test are not actually part of the test, and the interlocutor will say to you, this part of the test isn't assessed. It's just a chance for us to get used to each other's voices. It's also just a chance for you to just relax a little bit. And then there are some very generic questions about your professional background. For example, why did you want to become a nurse or a doctor? What do you like best about your job? Tell me about a typical day in your job. So because those questions aren't assessed, you can use that time to just, settle yourself down. And when an interlocutor sees that a candidate is very, very nervous, he or she will try throughout the role play to help you. They say, they'll give you opportunities to repeat what you've said, for example, or to ask for clarification if your nerves have got in the way. But there's really no need to be nervous. The interlocutors are all human as well, and they're all there to help you. That's their job.
Awesome. I mean, look how nice Maureen is. Maureen is there to make your exam and your life difficult. She's there to help you as much as possible. And I just want to clarify as well that, when Maureen used to be an OET interlocutor and the interlocutors that you see tomorrow, they are not the ones assessing you, okay? They are not the ones marking you, but they are there almost, trying to help you as much as possible to get the grade B that you're looking for. Isn't that right, Maureen?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And our job is to make sure that the candidate produces enough language so that the people who are assessing are able to assess them easily and fairly. So that's what we do. And some of the ways that we do that, for example, if I have a candidate or had a candidate who I felt was not speaking enough, then I might ask more questions to elicit more language from the candidate, for example. I might, or if I feel that we were finishing very quickly and, you've got 5 minutes in that test and it's like 3 minutes and it feels like we're coming to the end, I might go back and ask a candidate to expand on a previous answer so that the candidate can speak more, so that they can use their full 5 minutes, because that's important for the assessors to hear as much language as possible.
I think I'm muted for a second.
You were muted, yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, Maureen, when we both speak at the same time, there's a bit of an echo, so I've just muted you for a second. What a lot of people ask is, what about the name? So when we're talking about, how should you refer to the person? What's your tips for that if if the name is not given?
If the patient's name, the patient's name isn't given, yeah, I think just simply say, what would you like me to call you? And the interlocutor will respond with, a first name or Miss or Mr. whatever. So what would you like me to call you is fine. You can also read the role play card carefully, because if your patient is a teenager, for example, that's also something that I think the assessors will be listening for. So if the person's a teenager, then you would assume the language would be more informal. So you probably wouldn't say to a teenager, what would you like me to call you? You probably just call them by their first name. But if it was somebody who was, say, you've got a middle-aged person or an older person, then that is something that you would do, because in English-speaking countries, it's not very common to call an older person by their first name without checking that that's okay first. So you're probably better to err on the side of being slightly more formal with an older person. And then from the assessor's point of view, that's something that they can see that would come under the category of appropriateness, that you have the appropriate register for the person that you are talking to, because you wouldn't use the same kind of language with a teenager as you would with a very old person. Your language with a teenager in general would probably be much more informal, and perhaps even include some slang, colloquialisms that perhaps you wouldn't use with certainly a very old person.
Awesome, thank you very much, Maureen. I mean, this is great, and you know, we've got so many questions coming through for you, Maureen. I think you would end up being on here for about 3 hours. So another question that we're getting a lot is, what's the procedure around the 5 minutes? So when the 5 minutes, you know, do you let them know? Is there a clock? What's their, you know, how do they know when time is up?
Yeah, the interlocutor has a clock in front of her or him. The candidate doesn't, but usually when it's coming towards the 5 minutes, by then, just by the nature of the role play, you should have moved to the last point. And if you are not there, then the interlocutor will possibly move you towards that end point, and will say something that indicates we're coming to an end now, which will probably be something like, so you're saying I should do X, Y, Z. They will perhaps, you know, start to wrap up the conversation. So you need to be listening out for those indicators. If it gets to 5 minutes and you're in the middle of a sentence, the interlocutor will just say, thank you, that's the end of the role play. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, but we have a certain time to stick to, that's all. So don't take that as a bad sign that the interlocutor stops you. But of course, it's always best from the candidate's point of view to go through the points on the roll card and cover all of them.
Maureen, what's becoming pretty obvious to me is how much the interlocutor is helping the candidate to do their best, to give their best performance, because there is this kind of consensus in I think it's because of the whole IELTS scenario, you know, the saga, I probably call it as well, previously, where so many medical professionals were having difficulties with getting a 7.5, well, 7 for nurses, 7.5 for doctors. They almost have it in this head that the world is against them, and whether it's OET or IELTS, you know, OET and IELTS do not want you to get the passing scores. And you know, it's becoming blatantly obvious to me in just the last 10 minutes that we've spoken to you that, you know, someone who's, and I will actually be curious to know how many role plays that you've done previously, how much you're trying to help the person, you know, that you're doing the role play with.
Yeah, absolutely. Our job is to help the candidate and also to help the assessors. Yeah, but I'll just pick up on one thing you said about how we are trying to help them. Candidates, it might be useful for candidates to know that our role card often has words like, I've written some of them down, you are angry, you are anxious, you are nervous, you are frustrated, you don't understand, you aren't convinced, you are questioning the doctor. So the candidates need to be aware that that is part of our role play. That's not us. That's what we've been told to do on the role play. And I think almost all the role plays I've seen have involved somebody, a patient, who is either angry, upset, frustrated, doesn't understand. Reluctant comes up quite often on the interlocutor's role play. You are reluctant to follow advice. You are reluctant to believe what the doctor says. So the reason for that, though, is to test the candidate's communicative ability in English, and are they able to respond to what I think are quite real life scenarios for many doctors and nurses who encounter lots of patients like that. So if you get an interlocutor who seems to be being a bit difficult, it's because he or she will have that role on their card. So don't take it personally. Use it as an opportunity to show that you are able to explain clearly, that you're able to reassure somebody, that you're happy to repeat information, that you can check that the person has understood, and so on. So they're all language. Sorry.
Fantastic. I'm playing this game where I mute you and then I open back up. So, I mean, really, with and Maureen's touched on it. You know, the criteria that you're marked on. You know, like Maureen talks about the appropriateness. She mentioned that previously. So, and almost it kind of. Do you think, Maureen, it comes into with common sense as well? I think common sense plays quite a role in this. Do you think that?
Yeah, definitely. And at the same time, as we've said, this is a role play, and we all know you are role playing. You should try to make it as natural as possible, and to be yourself as much as possible. I think one of the things that is important, and I think it comes under the category of effective communication, is being sincere. I had somebody, a nurse, she was a very nice nurse, and you touched earlier on showing empathy, and she had obviously learned the phrase, I understand your concern. And that was great the first time she said it, because I can't remember what the role play was. I was obviously somebody worried about something. I understand your concern. But every time I spoke, she would just say, I understand your concern. I understand your concern. By the fourth time she said it, I felt, actually, you don't understand my concern. You're just saying a phrase that you've learned. And she didn't come across as at all sincere or empathetic or natural, really. And although as an interlocutor, there's nothing I can do about that. I can imagine that an assessor would grade her down over that. So I think one good thing to do is to learn a number of different ways of saying the same thing. So I understand your concern. I can see you're worried about that. Would you like me to explain that again? You seem a bit, trying to think of another word myself now, but to think of a number of phrases to say the same thing is always useful.
That's really important. You touched on that, because the examiners in Melbourne, Australia, they are looking to see what varied language you're using. If you just, like Maureen says, if you're just saying I understand, the whole time, then yeah, it obviously it goes within the context of the scenario that you're forgetting that it's an English examination, and I'll rephrase that. You're thinking that it's an English examination and forgetting about the fact that you're playing the role of a medical professional in this. So you know, you still need to pretend that this is a real life scenario and that it's trying to reenact a real life scenario as a doctor or a nurse. But if you just keep saying, I understand, then, you know, in the UK, if, for example, you know, Maureen's in Dubai originally from the UK, I'm in London. If I had had a consultation with a doctor or nurse and they just kept saying, I understand, I would get annoyed after a while. I'd start to get a bit frustrated. And like Maureen said, I'd think, well, you're just saying that to make me feel better, but actually I'm not feeling better whatsoever. So that's where common sense actually comes into play. And just because it's an English exam, don't forget that this is to reenact a real life scenario. So Maureen, we've got so many questions. We've got nearly 120 people watching right now, which is amazing. And the other thing I want to touch on is, if you are, and please let us know what Maureen's talking about. Is this helpful to you right now? Please tell us yes, beneficial, or say no, not beneficial. We've got so many questions. I'm really sorry that I just don't think we're going to get through every single question. But let's see what other ones. Okay, Aisha said, how to deal with reluctant patients. How to deal with reluctant patients. What would you say to that one, Maureen? What kind of tips? I mean, that's almost to say, Aisha, that I think what she's trying to say is not that the interlocutor's making it difficult for the candidate, but yeah, if the scenario is that they're reluctant, what kind of advice would you give for that, Maureen?
Well, I think it's sort of getting into a bit of psychology here, but I suppose from, you know, a language point of view, you need to be looking for phrases that persuade. So you need to be looking for language of persuasion, giving suggestions, overcoming objections, that kind of thing. So I think some kind of empathy, some kind of agreement is always good. You know, I can see that you're concerned, I can see that you're anxious, I can see that you're frustrated. So an acknowledgement of the feeling, and then maybe some kind of suggestion for what you could do to reassure that person or to alleviate that frustration. It's kind of in this scenario, it's a little bit difficult to give exact examples, and we're talking about general situations. So that's why I'm saying look at language for reassuring, for persuading, for overcoming objections, for giving suggestions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Maureen. Okay, so, and I just want to clarify that Maureen is an ex-OET speaking interlocutor, okay? But she is part of the Swoosh English team. And who else have we got? We've got so many people. Maureen said very, very beneficial. Thank you so much. Let's see what else we have got in terms of questions. Really helpful, said Lillian. Do all interlocutors encourage the candidates? Okay, now that's just gossip, and that's just gossip, Sunshine. Remember, they're all trained. So Maureen, can you just quickly touch on the training? Well, very, very quickly, you could just touch on the training that OET provide, when they provided you previously. And also, actually, before I forget, please let me know how many, I'm curious to know how, in the past, when you were an interlocutor, how many candidates did you do the role play with, just out of curiosity?
Okay, I've lost count. I couldn't, it must be hundreds, because every time that we do the test with candidates, there are hundreds. Obviously, I don't do hundreds myself, and there's quite a big team. But there were always like hundreds of candidates. So I couldn't give you, honestly, I couldn't give you a number, but it would have a lot of zeros at the end of it, I think. The training for interlocutors is quite simple. It's like an online and video training over a couple of days, where the test is explained to us, our role is explained to us, the role of the candidate. We get to see several of the role plays, and then we on the video, and then we are given some sample role plays to do as well. And then there's always time before the test begins for the interlocutors to look through the role play so that they have an idea of what's coming up. Another thing to remind all the candidates out there is that you do get, I think it's 2 to 3 minutes to prepare the role play. You're allowed to make notes on the role card. You're allowed to look at the role card and to use the prompts as you're going through. What I would suggest, though, because what doesn't come across well at all, is if somebody is reading from that role play. If you and I've had candidates who did that, and it comes across as very unnatural, and it's not really a role play. Then, I've had people who literally have the card like this and are reading what is on there, and that's not the idea at all. So you need to look at the prompts, and I think look at everything, because everything is designed to help you. Now, I know Alex keeps saying about the exam. I think it's more helpful to think of it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to show what you know to the best of your ability. The interlocutor is there to help you make the most of that opportunity. The prompts on the roll card are there to help you or to guide you, to give you prompts as to what kind of language to use. So if it says something like explain, ask, reassure the patient, those should be like triggers in your mind of what kind of language to use. One thing I will say as well about asking questions, to native English speakers, a direct question can come across as a bit too strong and sometimes a little bit almost aggressive. What's wrong with you? What's the problem today? How long have you had this problem? Can be a little bit strong. It's much softer and sounds more natural, especially and perhaps kinder, if you like, in a hospital setting, to use an indirect question form, sort of, can you tell me? Could you let me know? Rather than just going for a direct question. That's just a tip.
Maureen, what I might do is I might turn off your video. There's a bit of an issue with the sound. I think a couple of people mentioned it, if that's okay with you.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Maureen, I want to ask you, what are the things that candidates do that really annoy you to the point where you're like, oh, I've heard this so many times, and it's just they're not giving the best performance that they could do? I mean, is there anything in particular that you should tell students not to do?
I think repetition of formulaic phrases, this one that I mentioned before, like, I share your concern, I share your concern, I understand your concern, that kind of thing. I just mentioned reading from the prompt card or the role play card instead of speaking naturally. Other than that, I don't think there are things that annoy me. There's sometimes things where I think, oh, you could have done, you could have said more at that point. So perhaps candidates that don't take full advantage and who don't recognise when the interlocutor is really trying to get more language out of you, which is when they are asking questions, when they're asking you to repeat or to rephrase. So always take advantage of any opportunity to produce language.
Great stuff, Maureen. And also, a couple of people, John Gallego said, what about if you don't have it? What about if you're dealing with a candidate who has who you can see doesn't know how to answer, he doesn't know how to talk about the topic provided, or they just look puzzled, and perhaps they might ask you in that 2 to 3 minutes preparation time, or say, for example, I have no idea about this topic at all. What would you advise them?
Well, I mean, they can ask questions during the preparation time. They can ask about meanings of words. They can ask about pronunciation of words. And remember, it's a test on how well you communicate in English. It's not a test of medical knowledge. But quite honestly, if somebody has no clue, at that point, I think it's a bit late, really. You know, I'd be a bit concerned and worried about a lack of preparation and why that hadn't been picked up on before the candidate got to the speaking test. They don't need like a lot of the technical knowledge, but they should have some idea of what of the topic.
Fantastic, thank you, Maureen. So we've got a few minutes left, and what I will say, we've got so many messages from people saying I've shared the OET live class video. If you share it to your Facebook page, so you can let other doctors and nurses know about this session, particularly for people who've got their examination tomorrow or in July, be really beneficial for them. We want to make interlocutors out there make their job easier. Okay, I'm sure when Maureen was an interlocutor, I'm sure she would have loved to for you know, people to have received the right information, you know, the information that will help them to make the interlocutor not feel like they want to pull their hair out in frustration. So this, if you do share that OET live class video, you'll automatically get our model answer, OET writing model answer, and all you need to do after you've shared it to the page is put, I have shared the OET live class video in the chat box, and then you'll automatically receive that. And also as well, if you've got your exam in July and August and you want to have, you know, I don't know, speaking mock exams with some of our ex-interlocutors like Maureen, or you want to have help with your OET writing, or you need help in all 4 areas, make sure you go to swooshenglish.com. We're helping so many students right now we've just gone through and done a 5-day OET writing challenge with 30 students. It's been really, really beneficial for them. Now they've got their examination tomorrow. But if you're, say for example, you're doing your exam July, August, or when the new exam happens in September, then we can help you with all this kind of advice. Of course, these free sessions, we only do them, you know, very rarely. So we've got one today. We wanted to help as many of you before your exam tomorrow. I have had a couple of good questions, Maureen, and I want you to finish on these. Let's see if we can fit any more questions in, but we do have to finish exactly at 4 p.m. We've got a paid class for our program students soon, but Katerina Goritza said, and I'll rephrase this, you know, in terms of really good candidacy you've seen, the ones that you would guess they must get an A at the end of it, how did they start the consultation and how did they finish the consultation?
How did they start? Well, first of all, they took the initiative. That's important, that as a candidate you should start the conversation. So mostly I think they start by saying, hello, I'm nurse, I'm whatever the name is, I'm the nurse on duty today or the doctor on duty today. How can I help you today? Unless it's a follow-up, in which case they will have read that on the role play card and they will say, okay, Maureen, so I see you've come, I saw you last week for this issue. Tell me what's been happening since then, something like that. And then to conclude, so they could conclude by kind of summarizing what has been said. So certainly if it's an older patient, checking that the person has understood what has been said, and then explaining to the patient what will happen next or what they should do next or some kind of suggestion.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Maureen. We're going to have to wrap this up now, but I just want to say, Maureen, thank you so much for giving your experience as an ex-OET speaking interlocutor. and huge. I say huge, but best wishes to every single person, whether they're taking their examination tomorrow or they're taking it in July. Remember, go to swooshenglish.com if you want some of our materials, our free materials. If you want our paid programs, make sure you go there as well. We can help you from the journey, not just from 0 minutes to 5 minutes that we were talking about today for the speaking role play, but for the whole preparation journey that you've got. A lot of our students are passing first time, so we would look to see you in our programs as well. And yeah, lastly, thank you very much, Maureen. I'm looking forward to working with you on our team and helping as many students as possible to pass the OET.
Great. Okay. Thanks everybody for listening in, and Ma salama from Dubai.
Thank you very much, Maureen. All the best, everybody, and fingers crossed for your examination tomorrow. I hope you all get the grades that you deserve.
Yes, let me try and do that. Just 1 second.
Okay, so yeah, perfect. Okay.
Okay. You can see that.
So can you go full screen, Fiona?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Can everyone see Fiona's PowerPoint? Please say yes, I can see. If you can say yes, I can see, Alex. Okay.
So one thing to point out would be actually that it is it's similar for doctors and nurses. It does say speaking and writing doctors, but they're very similar exams, and so we use similar materials. So if there are any nurses here, you'll get a good idea of what's in the lessons. Yeah.
Exactly, that's a good point. Just because with the task that you're provided and the case notes, of course, one's for doctors, one's for nurses, but the principles are the same, everybody. Principles are the same. Everyone can see. Great to have. Okay, great to see that everyone can see. Okay, so Fiona, can you briefly introduce yourself to our nearly 80 doctors and nurses? Amazing. And that's in collaboration with OET World, who've been able to get so many people in here today. They've got nearly 13,000 members, so make sure you join their group. Kumar, if you can put your link inside the comment section. But yeah, Fiona, if you can just introduce yourself to everybody. Why should they listen to you and me?
Well, first of all, can they see me too? Because I can't start my video. Apparently you've prevented that.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can do that.
Because it's probably better.
Okay, I can. Yeah, make co-host. Okay, you should be able to turn on your video now.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I'll turn my video
yes.
on.
Okay.
You are real. Awesome.
Okay. Great. So hello, everybody. I'm just today going to give you an idea of a writing lesson. So as Alex has probably said, we have speaking and writing lessons, separate ones for doctors and nurses once a week. And today, because it's all about writing, I've just included the writing section. And once again, it says doctors, but it is really for doctors and nurses. And you will, there are obviously aspects of writing which, apply to everybody, right? And that's something we're going to look at today. Okay. First of all, what is cohesion? Cohesion is something that you will be tested on in OET, and I'm sure a lot of you are aware of what it is. It's kind of the glue that sticks everything together. I'm just wondering if I'm getting some messages about what is cohesion, but anyway, I'll just keep talking. It's the glue that sticks everything together. So instead of having a bunch of sentences which don't mean anything, you have linking words